Hey guys, in this episode, we'll be talking about how to get a property, let's say $500,000 property, without needing a 20% deposit. We're not talking about lender's mortgage insurance this time, right? Finance hacks, you could say, although many people would already know them. But if you're new, you probably don't know these things. There are so many ways that borrowing finance can either build you a property portfolio real quick or get you into the first one, or without knowing these things, you're really just on the sidelines thinking, how's everyone else making this money? I can't even save a deposit. Like, you feel real bad in that way. So if you don't have a huge deposit, but you want to get into the ladder, you want to get your first investment property, you want to find your first property to maybe live in, this episode will bring you some really concrete advice. Welcome to the Oz Property Investment Mastery Podcast. My name's PK and I help busy people build passive income by buying top 5% growth and cash flow property and build a portfolio using data without wasting months doing research, spending weekends at inspection or catching flights, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents every single time. So if you're confused, lack confidence, and just overwhelmed with all the information and marketing misinformation available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you. So let's say you want to buy $500,000 property, wherever that is, let's say. Regardless of whether it's to live in or it's to invest, let's say for this episode, it's to invest in. You need for a $500,000 property, roughly about 20% deposit, which is $100,000. Let's park lender's mortgage insurance. I've done other episodes on that. We'll come back to that. That's another way to get by this problem. But let's say you don't want to play lender's mortgage insurance. You need $100,000. Let's say you only have $25,000. You're like, all right, well, every day, every week, every month, I can see basically in all parts of Australia, property prices rising. This is killing me because every week I'm just getting further and further away, right? Because that property is rising in value. That suburb, that city is rising in value. So what do I do about this? Guarantor loans. I don't think many people know about these. I don't think enough people utilize them. I don't think enough people are educated to really know just how low risk these strategies are. So guarantor loans. What guarantor means is that your parents, let's say, they effectively loan you the balance. So you need $100,000 to buy a $500,000 property. Let's say you only have $25,000. Right? So you've got a shortfall of $75,000, 100 minus 25. So guarantor loans are where your parents, they don't give you cash. They just refinance their own property and tell the bank that they can take, the bank that is, $75,000 of equity from their own house and make up that shortfall of 75,000, 100 minus 25. All right? And the beauty is that your parents don't need to dip into their savings or offset or anything like that. Chances are, if you've been living in Australia for more than 1 year, you have an incredible amount of equity in your property, right? And if you have parents that live in Australia, chances are they have a ton of equity in their property. So it doesn't make sense for them to be cash rich and their children to be, so poor, quote unquote, insofar as not even being able to get a property, right? It doesn't make sense. And so this is what the banks say. They say, okay, well, dear parents, you're asset rich. We'll take $75,000 out of your property, right? We'll make up the shortfall for your children. So now you've got $100,000. You can buy that $500,000 property without paying lender's mortgage insurance. And by the way, you're like, okay, well, how do I convince my parents that they should actually do this? How do I convince them that this is a good idea? How do I convince them that this is not super high risk, right? Well, it's not. You can repay your parents as soon as the equity that you have in your property is equal to 20%. Okay, so right now, your equity, excluding your parents' 75, is only $25,000. All right, so 25,000, as a proportion of 500,000 the value of the property is very small. You can release your parents from this, guarantor relationship as soon as you have $25,000 plus the balance of 20% of equity in that property. So you might be thinking, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon because I don't save like $50,000 yet. Don't worry. All right, so let's say that $500,000 property rises to $600,000. That might take, in this environment, it might take 6 months, but let's say in normal times that takes a year, 2 years, 3 years. Let's just be conservative. That's a very conservative approach if you know what you're doing, if you follow the data, right? Let's say 1 or 2 years, something like that, which is entirely, it will happen if you know what you're doing in the next, right now, right? So basically in a year's time, your property will go from 500 to 600, which means you do have now 20% equity of your own, right? And so then you just go back to the bank and say, well, I have 20% equity now. I didn't when I started. My parents, loaned me their equity, 75,000 to make up the shortfall. I got 20% of my own equity now because the property has risen by $100,000. Release my parents. Your parents get their money back. Their finances are untouched. You get a property that you wouldn't have been able to buy had it not been for this guarantor relationship. If you did not leverage your parents' money, you would have found that in 1 year, that place you wanted to live or that investment property you wanted to buy would have gone up by $100,000. And now, unless you had the ability to save $100,000, on an annual basis, now you're even further away. You would have been even further away from buying your first investment property or your first property to live. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the whole idea is leverage, getting the right type of debt to get in the property ladder will get you so far. Will not only get you so far, will actually be able to give you the ability to buy a property. So, that's pretty simple. There's not really much else to be said. Just go through a really good mortgage broker. To do that, make sure you follow data. I really encourage you, if you're investing in property, this is just one finance sort of hack, you could say. There are so many of these finance hacks, 10, 20, 30 ways that people literally burn their money. They literally take their money and put it in the trash because they're not making the most of it. They're not getting a property. They're not investing in real estate. They're not making their money work hard for them. All right. And then they take that 25,000 and put it into crypto and celebrate when that goes up to 50. Then it comes down to 20 again because the market crashes. And it's just this kind of like headache, and it's not sustainable. You know that you're not going to be able to build 100, 200K passive income realistically through crypto. Like, let's be serious. What else can you do with 25,000? Not much, right? You can invest in stock market. No one's going anywhere fast with $25,000 in the stock market if it grows at 7% per annum, right? Real estate, because of leverage, gets you so far. So hopefully that was valuable, guys, and share it, because I'm telling you, there's literally so many millennials, so many, Gen Ys, maybe Gen Xs potentially, that don't know these things. They may seem very simple, but they don't know. And, because of that financial, you could say illiteracy or lack of literacy, they literally, chuck their money in the bin. They don't know what to do with it. So share this. If you don't know it, share it with your friends, whoever may benefit. And I hope you got a lot of value out of it. My name's PK, and I wish you all the very best. Catch ya.